it's me die. Rely on yourself in no way. Believe.
Good morning, everybody. It's another day. It's a Thursday, and we're going to be talking about Peter. Um, as I said, we're taking a unique approach to Peter, um, in that what people have normally spoken about him, or the most notorious stories about him, is the denial of Christ, the ear cutting, and of course, the books he wrote. But I want to take um, a more consequential look at Peter because I think he has been overlooked in certain ways when it comes to his walk, and I want to really focus on his walk. Um, so a little bit of his history as to what people see him as. Now, if you go look up who Peter was, you'll find Peter the Apostle, Saint Peter, um, the first pope, and all that stuff. And so I want to dispel that whole narrative first off. Peter was not, I repeat, and was not, could not ever have been involved in anything having to do with headship in the role of a pope. He would not. Why do I say that? I say that because I look at his history, his entire life, what is said about him and what he says about himself. There is no way Peter would have, could have, did start anything to do with a religious type of situation, such as headship under the title of Pope, especially for the length of time they said he had it. Okay? They have him listed as the longest tenured Pope. So let's get one thing clear as to why I believe that. When Peter was with Jesus, okay, Peter had such a reverent respect for Jesus that there was no way he would put himself as the archetype of him. He wouldn't do it. And if you just read from the his book in First Peter, okay, you will see right off the top where he stood before God and what he thought about himself. There would be no way he would put himself in a position that would completely contradict what he did and who he was in the books he himself wrote and in the stories he himself was a part of. Wouldn't happen. Would never happen. You see paintings of him and having these crosses on him. That no way he would do that either. Wouldn't happen. So let's dispel with that nonsense first off. Where they really get that from, of course, is when when Jesus told him, I tell you are Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church. And they say, oh, the name Peter means rock, so he was the cornerstone of the papacy. Stupid. Dumb, and that's because Peter, when he said, you are the Christ, the Son of the living God, the testimony was the rock, unshakable because it was true. Jesus said, upon that testimony I will build my church. Not you. I only repeated your name because you repeated mine. I asked you who you were, and I told you who you were. Hang on a second. I asked you who I was. You told me, and you are right. And therefore, I will tell you who you are. And upon that rock of your testimony, I will build my church, because I am the Christ, the Son of the living God. It is not difficult. Like I said, people want to seem smart and intelligent only for the use of power. They don't want anything to do with truth. But if I can make something seem as though, oh, Peter is the rock because his name means rock, Yeah, look at that. That means it makes sense. You're dumb. Which is why I tell you that the whole Catholic religion, not church, the whole Catholic religion is of the devil, plain and simple. I'm sorry if you're a Catholic and you feel like you're close to God. You're not. You have nothing to do with God in that religion. Absolutely nothing. Everything about the Catholic faith is a farce. When I say everything is a farce. And you can get mad all you want, but you follow a dead thing, a fake thing, a loser thing, a lie. So I want to get that out the way first. Peter was not a pope, never would have been a pope, and the entire Catholic faith is a lie and straight from the pits of hell. Plain and simple. We clear on that? I don't care who wants to get mad at me. Stay mad. Be mad. Stay mad. Don't care. Your feelings have zero to do with what is reality. Just get over yourself and go talk to God personally and stop putting your eggs in this stupid Dagon hat wearing fool sitting in front of an entirely big demonic statue and calling himself the second voice of God. If that is what they learned from Peter, then obviously they did not learn from Peter. Plain and simple. This was Peter's statement. In 1 Peter. I want to find the right translation here. Hang on. I will use this one. That's okay. We'll use this one. To the pilgrims of the dispersion in Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father and sanctification of the Spirit for the obedience and the sprinkling of the blood of Jesus Christ. Grace to you and peace be multiplied. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his abundant mercy has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved for you in heaven, reserved in heaven for you who are kept by the power of God through faith for salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time. In this you greatly rejoice, though now for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials, that the genuineness of your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes through its test by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ, who have not seen, you love. Though now you do not see him, yet believing, you rejoice with joy inexpressible and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, the salvation of your souls. Peter was, I would say, one of the very few that you could see under the tutelage of Jesus who failed in the most epic possible way and was given one of the most direct instructions ever given by Jesus to anyone. Let me make sure I find this here. When Peter had gone astray, meaning that he had said, I will even die for you, Jesus. There's nothing people can do. There's nothing anyone can say. I will die for you. And Jesus looked at him and says, before the cock crows, you will deny me 3 times. Peter was almost in shock. There's no way he would do that. Lo and behold, the test came and Peter failed. And Peter not only failed, Peter failed epically to the point where he no longer could look anyone in the eye because of what he's done. And he ran. Now, there comes a point where you have to understand that Peter was in a situation here where, and he had been called, mind you, he had been called out afterwards as well for certain things, disassociating with certain people because of their ethnicity and their where the region they were from and the type of people they were, and he had to be called out on it to the point where even God came down and threw out that white cloth in the air and told him, hey, don't call anything I've made unclean. So Peter had quite a standard of learning that was almost akin to the way he behaved. Stubborn, hard-headed, mulish, rough around the edges, loud, brash. He was impulsive. He was the only disciple who lashed out. He was the most animated. He was the most animated. Or you're going to arrest my God, cut your ear off. You tell me I'm going to deny? I'm not going to deny. Impulsive. And there was a massive switch in Peter when that happened to him. It happened right after he denied. There is something to be said about that. I don't think we really take into consideration I'm trying to find the best way to word this. If you were to be before Jesus in the times that he existed, you saw the things he did, you were privy to the way he behaved, you saw the miracles, and you became so enamored to the point where your gusto was built and you were ready to go anytime he said something. And you were sold on the idea that anything he told you to do, you were going to do. And then he looks you in the eye and tells you, you might feel that way, but you're going to not act on that. You're going to be tested on that exact feeling and you're going to fail. This is the man you saw do scores of things. You walked on water with him. You fished and found scores of fish. You followed this man. You have seen him do miraculous things. You've seen him do feeding thousands of people with what should never have fed people. And he looks you in the eye and he tells you, you are going to fail me. Obviously, the first thing you're going to say is, no. You have it wrong. You have it wrong. Completely wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. There is no way I, of all people, would deny you. That it's not going to happen. And he looks at you again, trust me, and I'll give you even a breakdown of how. I'll tell you exactly how you're going to do it. And I'll tell you what's going to happen before you do it. and then you do it, what do you think your countenance would be? All that gusto, all that hype, and then you just turn around and do exactly what he just predicted you would do. And after you're pretending to be such a, faithful guy. In Luke 22, verse 31, the Lord said, Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith should not fail. And when you have returned to me, strengthen your brethren. Now listen here. As much as I make sure I bring that back up for people to see. As much as I can look at Peter and look at the situation and think all about the denial, you have to see what Jesus is saying here. This is he builds up Peter's confidence first off, okay? He tells him. In fact, let's go back to 28 real quick. But you are those who have continued with me in my trials, and I bestow upon you a kingdom, just as my Father bestowed one upon me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. It's a very big deal. Now, understand it. He's talking to each of them there, and he's telling them that I've already set something aside for you at the end of your days, and at the end of all time, you're going to sit and judge. That is massive, okay? Then he turns around and said, Simon, Simon, indeed Satan has asked for you, specifically you, that he may sift you as wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith should not fail. Not your actions. Not your actions. Your faith. Not your actions. Your faith. There is something to be said here. That's a big deal. And when you have returned to me, meaning when you do this denial, it will be a separation. Not because I've left you, but because you will feel separated based on what your actions have done. But your faith will restore you to me. And when that happens, strengthen your brothers. And here comes Mr. Impulsivity. But he said to him, Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death. The sifting has begun. The sifting has begun. Then he said, I tell you, Peter, the rooster shall not crow this day before you will deny me 3 times. Peter is a lot like an everyday follower in a lot of ways. We talk a big game when it comes to Christ. We talk a huge game. And many of us fail in the areas where that game has to fail when the game begins. We talk big. If they come to my door tomorrow and threaten me with death, I will not deny Christ. Let's be honest with ourselves. If they came tomorrow and did that, would you? Or in your back of your mind, you're going to say to yourself, that's not really going to happen yet. It's not time, hasn't happened yet. So I'm not going to need to worry about that. But if it does, I'll be ready. We all talk a big game. If it comes down to it, are you willing to hear me out? Remember, he said, whoever follows me must deny not only himself, but all things. Hate mother, brother, sister. You must hate in order to love him. Not hate in terms of I despise, but to the point of choosing between, you have to choose him over them. If it came down to it to save your family, would you deny Christ? Peter denied him to save his own hide. Would you deny Christ to save your family? Put you aside for a minute. I think it's easier for us to say, I will sacrifice. Easy to say, mind you, to say. Would you, if you're a grandparent and someone has your child, your grandchild hostage, and they say, if you don't, now mind you, don't tell me that this is abnormal stuff. It happens in third world countries all the time, and they do not deny the Lord. Okay. If you deny who you follow right now, I'll spare your grandchild. But if you don't, they're dead. And then we'll kill you. If your answer is this, I'm not picking on you, Angela, okay? Then you have a lot of questions to answer about your faith. Why do I say that? I think we say, just like Peter said, that Jesus is all to the world to me until the world is offered. Jesus is all until the world is offered. And then all of a sudden, well. You see, we're not that different from Peter. Now, will the Lord allow that to happen, allow you to be tempted like that? I don't know, but you ought to be ready for that kind of temptation to be allowed. I don't know if he'll ever test anyone like that. But the same way he tested Abraham with Isaac, are we beyond that testing? Are you? If Peter wasn't beyond that testing, who are you? Peter was told directly, you will deny me. And Peter, just like the rest of us, will say, no, man, you don't understand, bro. I got you. I got your back. You don't understand. I will die for you. Here is Jesus about ready to go and get killed. Hey, wait. Don't we know you? No, you don't know me. Now, Peter, later on, does indeed kind of step up to the plate, right? I will go to even to death. So we're going to read something here. Let's go. You ready? Coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed, and his disciples also followed him. When he came to the place, he said to them, pray that you may not enter into temptation. That is pivotal. That's a very, very, very big statement. Listen. And he was withdrawn from them about a stone's throw, And he knelt down and prayed, saying, Father, if it be your will, take this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And an angel appeared to him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in agony, he prayed more earnestly. Then his sweat became like great drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose up from prayer and had come to his disciples, he found them sleeping from sorrow. Now, stop right there. You ever cried yourself to sleep? You ever have such a, say someone's in the hospital and is about to die. You know the end is coming and they're near and dear to you, and you do not want this to happen. You ever cried yourself to sleep? Do you remember that feeling, that gut-wrenching, deep, just you can't, nothing makes sense? The last thing you want to pray for is that the devil doesn't tempt you. The last thing, you are just trying to keep things together. It drains you. It is a sapping of strength. You lose it, right? That was them. Then he said to them, why do you sleep? Rise up and pray, lest you enter into temptation. He tells them that twice. In other words, put your feelings away. This is not a time for that. You knew this was going to happen. This is knowledge you had from the get-go. Your job right now is to pray with me, and so that you don't jump into temptation, you need to be awake and pray. And while he was still speaking, behold, a multitude. And he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them and drew near to Jesus and kissed him. But Jesus said to him, Judas, you are betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? When those around him saw what was going on, what was going to happen, they said to him, Lord, shall we strike with the sword? And one of them struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. In another book, it's revealed that was my boy Peter. Peter was the one that jumped up and said, Asha! Ear gone. Just watch out. Gone. Took that off. But Jesus answered and said, permit even this. And he touched his ear and healed him. Then Jesus came to the chief priests, captains of the temple, and the elders who had come to him. Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? When I was with you daily in the temple, you did not try to seize me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness. And here comes the aftermath of Mr. Gusto. You just finished cutting off Malchus's ear. You stood up. You said, hey, you told Jesus before, man, look, trust me, you don't know me. I got you. To death, I got you. See, look. Having arrested him, they led him and brought him into the high priest's house. But Peter followed at a distance. Here he comes. He said, y'all think y'all can take my Jesus away and expect me just to back up? Please, I'm going to follow you. I'll find you. I'm not just leaving. I told Jesus I was not leaving. Watch me. Now, when they had kindled a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Peter sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, this man was also with him. See, Peter was hoping to go in covert. First, they'll lash out and they'll say, oh, okay. So they know I cut his ear off. Okay, but they also know now so now I'm in the crowd. Ain't nobody gonna see me. But he denied him, saying, woman, I do not know him. You would think at this point, he said, whoa. That was one. I better not do two more. That was not in his thought process at all. That was not in his thought process. And after a little while, another saw him and said, "You also are of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." Then, after about an hour had passed, another confidently affirmed, saying, "Surely this fellow also was with him, for he is Galilean." But Peter said, "Man, I do not know what you are saying." Immediately, while he was still speaking, the rooster crowed. And the Lord turned and looked at Peter. Then Peter remembered the words of the Lord, how he had said to him, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." So Peter went out and wept bitterly. I feel, I feel that for Peter. I really do. I feel Peter. Because I know many times in my life when people see me going to church, and when they ask me about him, I didn't say anything. I shut up. I pretty much denied him. The difference is I never wept about it. It hit Peter. And it hit Peter so deep. It hit him so deep that he had to run. But Jesus told him, when you go through that and you failed and you've gone, when you come back to me, not if, when you come back to me. That's a big thing. Jesus not only told him what was going to happen and how bad it was going to be, he told him directly, but you'll be okay. You will come back. And when you do come back, admonish your brothers. For all intents and purposes, Peter is a prime example of mankind thinking that what they bring to Jesus is sufficient, only for Jesus to tell them it's not sufficient and it will not stand the test. But what I give you, what I prayed for you, what my Father can do for you is sufficient. Nothing about Peter's situation, nothing about Peter's situation without the intervention of that prayer that Jesus prayed would have brought Peter back. Nothing. The devil has sought to sift you like wheat. You remember that the devil went before God for Job? You remember that? Do you remember that he has constantly tried to tell God, your servants are not as worthy as you think? Those people are only with you because of blah, 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 blah. And if you do something that'll be completely opposite of that, they'll stop dealing with you. How would the devil seek Peter specifically out to sift him like wheat? And how did Jesus know? This is just me speculating, but just like in Job, I believe that it was just like Job. I bet you Peter, the impulsive one, would never, all that talk, bet you he ain't going to do it. I bet you. And Jesus said, you know what? I'll pray for him that his faith will not fail. Regardless of the action he takes, his faith will not fail. And Peter, when you come back, you'll be stronger than ever. Admonish your brothers. And what did Peter do? Exactly that. Peter's word choices in First Peter. We'll go back to it real quick after we've gone through all this. Listen to this carefully. Now, with all that being said, listen to what he writes. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who according to his abundant mercy has begotten us again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of God through faith. That right there. Hmm. Who are kept by the power of God through faith. Jesus told him, I have prayed. I have prayed for you. That what? Your faith. I have prayed for your faith. And Peter writes about it. In the very opening, he tells everybody what Jesus told him. You are kept by the power of God through faith. And he emphasizes it again. In this you greatly rejoice, though for a little while, if need be, you have been grieved by various trials. He is telling the entire story of his conversation with Jesus. Hmm. That the genuineness of what? Your faith, being much more precious than gold that perishes, so that though it is tested by fire, may be found to praise, honor, and glory at the revelation of Jesus Christ. When Jesus told him, admonish your brothers, Peter got it, and he went and did exactly that in his 2 epistles. And he started off directly with it. In not so many words, he said, he prayed for my faith, and that is the only thing keeping me. It's the only thing. If you ever feel that your journey seems hamstrung, delayed, overly tested, it can never be overly tested. And it's not that he has some grandiose plan for you to be some big figure. The testing of your faith is important and needed. It is. It's needed. The testing of your faith produces what? Steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. It's okay if you were like Peter, because Jesus had prayed for all of our faith. Those who are in him, he's prayed for. He said it. Let's read that real quick. There's the group I sang with back in the day did this as a song, okay? And we might as well read it to end this. After Jesus said this, he looked toward heaven and prayed, Father, the hour has come. Glorify your Son, that your Son may glorify you. For you granted him authority over all people, that he might give eternal life to all those you have given him. Now this is life eternal, that they may know you, the only true God, and Jesus Christ, whom you have sent. I have brought you glory on earth by finishing the work you gave me to do. And now, Father, glorify me in your presence with the glory I had with you before the world began. I have revealed you to those whom you gave me out of the world. They were yours. You gave them to me, and they have obeyed your word. Now they know that everything you have given me comes from you. For I gave them words you gave me, and they accepted them. They knew with certainty that I came from you, and they believed that you sent me. I have prayed for them. I am not praying for the world, but for those you have given me, for they are yours. All I have is yours, and all you have is mine. And glory has come to me through them. I will remain in the world no longer, but they are still in the world, and I am coming to you. Holy Father, protect them by the power of your name, the name you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one. While I was with them, I protected them and kept them safe by that name you gave me. None has been lost except for the one doomed to destruction, so the scripture will be fulfilled. We have been prayed for. We have been prayed for by Jesus himself, that our faith will remain. Peter, through all of his impulsive nature and brashness and rage and disappointment and denial, was led to understand what Jesus prayed for because of it. And when he came back, all he could talk about was the fact that Jesus prayed for his faith. Do not get distracted by the world, people. It will kill you if you do. Stay focused. Embrace the fact that Jesus prayed for you, and stay steadfast in staying awake and praying so you don't fall into temptation. It's pretty simple. Tomorrow, we'll be talking about the Israel-Palestinian issue, but from a biblical standpoint, and what that means for us, if anything. Thank you for tuning in, for listening. And I do hope that something of value was transmitted to you. It was for me. It was a massive revelation for me. I had not ever read, and like I told you guys before, when me doing this is not me prepping. I don't go and get all the info beforehand and then I regurgitate it because I wrote it down. None of this stuff is rehearsed. Every point I go to, I do not remember the point prior, but I know where he's taking me is going to end up making sense somewhere along the line. So this has done for me a lot, and I only hope that it's done that for you as well. Scrolling below, the options to give. If not, that's fine. Talk to God about it. And if you need to email me, here it is. Thank you all again for all that you do in praying for me and the platform and all that stuff. We will catch you guys tomorrow. And we'll talk about that Israel stuff. Until then, wisdom calls to you from the streets. Please, please, please find wisdom. Peace.
Hold tight the dreams, for if dreams